Krishna 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare. Welcome to Pariprashnena Sevaya. Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nityavadi Paschat Jaya Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Everyone may kindly repeat the following two short mantras. Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Sri Sarabhyaya Namaha. Om Sri Sarabhyaya Namaha. Om Sri Sarabhyaya Namaha. Om Sri Sarabhyaya Namaha. Mukam karoti vacham pangum langayate girim yat kripat maham bande yat maham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Welcome once again. Before we speaking about Varnasrama, regarding ongoing developments for the heading up the steering committee. We have 10 devotees from different countries of our administrative staff who will each be having a particular portfolio, beginning with the director for the Varnashram College that I have taken up. We also have a director for marketing and communication, one devotee from Malaysia by the name of Johnson, with very good background in education. He's actually a consultant in education. We have a director for curriculum development, which has been taken up by a devotee very much involved for a number of years in actually searching out some of our traditional subject matters, many of which are not followed, some of which are even lost, actually. What is known as 64 arts and sciences. So the director for curriculum development is Bharat Chandra Prabhu. Then we have, as a fourth member, General Secretary for the Varnashram College, which is taken up by Parashuram Prabhu here in India. And then our treasurer will be Vishnurata Prabhu. We are continuing to work, we could say behind the scenes, on the website, and gradually, as various pages become ready, we will make those available. So we'd like devotees to actually take notice of this upcoming service that we will be offering to the general devotees and even beyond our own immediate ISKCON devotees. One very important thing that I would like to mention, I think I touched on it yesterday or the day before, we are seeking to actually partner with various NGOs, non-profit organizations, rural communities from around the world. We very much would like to network with these groups because there's a tremendous need and urgency as well to increase awareness, not only increase awareness, but to actually prepare individuals and families to take up in a practical way this recommended simplified lifestyle which is described actually throughout our Vedic literatures. Our model is Vrindavan Dham, and we need to become more and more aware and accustomed to the idea that actually the ideal lifestyle is when we become localized, is when we are not having to travel using some motor car or whatever mode of transport may be there. When we are localized, when we are able to grow our own food, this may seem for many, even many of our devotees, as, is this really practical? Actually, it is most practical. It's just that we've been trained in a different way. We've been conditioned in a different way. And therefore, the importance of hearing more directly from our founder Acharya, how much he emphasized this more simplified lifestyle, beginning with our own devotees as well. And Srila Prabhupada would say, yes, for preaching purposes, we definitely need to be in the cities, but that should be our primary objective or primary reason for actually being in the cities. So we consider this initiative most important and welcome your participation. Please visit our website at www.varnashramacollege in one word.com. That's varnashramacollege.com. We will now take a few minutes to read from speaking about Varnashrama. And this section is chapter number 19, a morning walk that Srila Prabhupada was having in Mauritius. I mean, Srila Prabhupada was traveling everywhere. This is in 1975, on the 2nd of October. The title of this chapter is Self-Sufficiency or Commercial Production. A very major, important theme because modern agriculture is being practiced primarily for the purpose of profit, which is not the Vedic understanding of why we should be doing agriculture. Three themes are being highlighted in this chapter. Number one, capitalism versus communism. Number two, grow to eat or grow to sell. Modern day agriculture is, as we all know, described as agribusiness. We also speak about dairy business, isn't it? So both dairy and agriculture have become businesses. which is not Vedic, which is not what the land is meant to be utilized for, and cows as well. They're not meant to be commercialized. Yes. And the last theme here, subsistence versus market-oriented production, similar. So one devotee, the conversation here with Srila Prabhupada at Chaivana. The capitalists are so anxious for money that they exploit this tendency of the living entity to enjoy by tempting him. Every year they create some new way to entice him. This is very true. Advertisement, publicity, multi-million-dollar market, just to incite people to spend, to consume. Srila Prabhupada adds or responds, and taxation. And the taxation is divided among them. The tax is meant for public welfare. Instead of public welfare, they divide it amongst themselves and enjoy wine, women, motor car, and flesh. That's all. This is going on. All this income tax plundering process. This income tax means a plan how to take away everything from the actually earning members of the society. That is income tax. And that is divided amongst administrators. That's all. Chaivana. Here it is very prominent. The workers in the fields, they are barely making enough to live from day to day. But the planters who live in France, they're taking millions of rupees and living very comfortably. Then Prabhupada, some break in the conversation. Another danger, just like airplane, it is comfortable. You can quickly go from one place to another. But as soon as one is on the airplane, immediately your life is at risk. There is no certainty. So this is the way of material world. You create some comfort and you create some greater danger also. The more we endeavor for so-called comfort, we simultaneously create this danger. Side by side, it cannot be unhampered comfort. That is not possible. You create a motor car, the same thing. You drive very speedily and you meet accident. Railway, the accident. There was no need. You produce your food locally and produce your milk. Then eat, drink, and live comfortably. Chant Hare Krishna. That is wanted. Make your life subscriptions of the Lord. Poetry. And if then describe the glories of the Lord by your scientific and educational. So in Mauritius, Srila Prabhupada, observing how Mauritius is a small island, but very ideal for agriculture. But unfortunately, food grains, you're growing sugarcane for exporting. Why? Why this attempt? You first grow your own eatables. And if there is time, and if your production, or population rather, has got sufficient food grains, then you can try to grow other fruits and vegetables for exporting, per se. But we should grow for our primary needs and necessities. And on many occasions, actually, he would say, and when there is excess, then there can be trade. But that should not become the primary goal or the primary meditation of someone who is producing food, doing that for selling. Everywhere there is sufficient land to produce food grains, not only in your country. I have traveled all over the world, Africa, Australia, and in America also. There is so much land vacant that if we produce food grains, then we can feed 10 times as much population as at the present moment. So Prabhupada made this statement, and I've heard it from others as well. If land, it is not that there is not enough land. There is sufficient land. What is lacking is the proper management of that land. Yeah. There is no question of scarcity. The whole creation is so made by Krishna that everything is Purnam, complete. Purnamidam Purnamada Purnat Purnam Udashyate Purnasya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. If we don't produce food grain, you require it, and put unnecessarily men into scarcity, that is sinful. That is sinful. Everything, every instruction for our happy life and to advance in Krishna consciousness and make perfect life. So we will stop here. There is, next section is also for the next few days in Mauritius. Different topics will be addressed. We can now take our, begin with our questions here. Let's see. Okay. So this next question here is from Bangalore. And it is from a devotee called Sukhi Jagannath Das. Sukhi Jagannath Das. This is question number 66. Maharaj, throughout the world, cow slaughter is going on. Some people in general are becoming vegans, especially in cities. Getting ahimsa milk is not easy. How devotees in cities can deal with it? Should we also stop offering and consuming such milk? So here the question is regarding the ongoing practice, as we know, of cow slaughter for commercial purposes. As soon as milking cows are not able to give a particular fixed quota, because everything is mechanized. That is why nowadays one cannot be a farmer. One cannot become a farmer unless you have a university degree, and where you learn about computers and how to do everything practically in a mechanized way. So, what should be the position of devotees is what is being asked here. Many people, as we know, in the last 10 years especially, there has been a tremendous surge of veganism, people totally rejecting cow products. They are very conscious of the malpractices that are taking place in the dairy industry, and we very much sympathize with their concern. We totally are against the atrocities that are taking place on a daily basis in dairy farms. And although we are very much aware of these atrocities, we as devotees still uphold the importance of milk, but it should be ahimsa milk. We should not consume what is called commercial milk. Commercial milk is what is available on the market. I'll just share something with you which will help you think twice when you purchase milk on the market. Actually, last year or the year before, here in India, the World Health Organization, who is very busy nowadays because of this pandemic, the World Health Organization, known as WHO, made a survey here in India regarding the production of milk, regarding the number of cows. So their study was that according to the number of cows that are here in India, so much production of milk is possible. So they made their calculation, X number of cows, relatively easy to find out. And after making such calculation, they then proceeded to the next step. Okay, how much milk is on the market? So they calculated that according to this number of cows, and I forget the exact number that they quoted in the article, but I'm just taking an arbitrary number here. Let's say yearly there is 20 billion liters of milk. According to these numbers of cows in India, this quantity of cows can produce approximately, let's say, 20 billion liters of milk. But their findings were that actually on the market, 60 billion liters of milk is being sold. Cows can produce 20 billion a year, but on the market, one can purchase 60 billion. What does that mean? It means that actually 40 billion liters of milk is not milk. As a matter of fact, the Indian government also, this was in an article last year sometime, they cracked down on a group of people. They arrested, I think, some 60 or so individuals who were into producing, artificial milk, chemical milk, which is actually not milk. So one can package anything very nicely. You can make a nice box, a nice design, and you say milk with a nice picture of a cow. But is it milk? This article went on to explain, and this also kindly take note. This article went on to explain from this research that if this trend continues unchecked in India, whereby so much of adulterated milk, it's not even milk, chemical. If this trend continues, it means that within 10 to 20 years, 87% of the population in India will get cancer. Yes, when we consume food or drink milk that is contaminated, naturally this will cause all kinds of health problems. So here we are 50 plus years down the line. Srila Prabhupada established ISKCON as a society in 1966. And from the very beginning, these instructions were given by our founder Acharya. You establish communities. You keep your own cows. You grow your own food. We have not done it. At least not on the scale that Srila Prabhupada expected. If we were to count the number of city temples that have such a community, rural community, where there are cows that are milked naturally, not by a machine, where food is produced naturally, not by using chemical pesticides or chemical fertilizers, where devotees are growing the food, working on the land, milking the cows, then we would not have these questions today. Therefore, what to do? What to do is very simple. One should become very active in connecting with those individuals or those projects where they are working or endeavoring very hard to realize Srila Prabhupada's mission in terms of becoming self-sufficient and sustainable. And one should understand how rare it is to get milk, and therefore if one wants to take the risk of purchasing what is coming out of modern dairies, one can do that, but that is not recommended. That is the reason why the highest authority within ISKCON society last year passed a resolution whereby within the next 2 years all of our temples should be offering ahimsa milk. Ahimsa milk means from protected cows. And it should be actually from devotee protected cows. It is an essential and very basic aspect of our Krishna consciousness movement that we should know this modern trend of ever increasing urbanization is actually adharmic. It is against Dharma. Why? Because it is disconnecting us from the more natural way that we're meant to live. It is disconnecting us from the land. It is disconnecting us from the cows. It is forcing us in so many ways, or we are allowing this to happen, to consume food and to drink milk, not knowing where this food or this milk is coming from. So therefore, this is actually the responsibility of every leader within the society. And it's not, we should not just put it on the shoulder of the leaders. It's a responsibility of each and every devotee. Becoming a devotee means to become responsible. Understanding Dharma means understanding our duties. Dharma means what is duty, what is responsibility. Our duty, first and foremost duty, this is mentioned in so many places in the Shastra. First and foremost duty actually is to protect cows in society. We're so out in left field, not understanding how essential, absolutely essential, is the presence of cows in our lives. Now we are, practically speaking, even as devotees, totally disconnected from cows. So this is not simply some sentimental expression. This is referring to what is the most scientific, natural way that we should be living. So therefore, those devotees in the city should connect. And if there is no such project close by, you start one. We have to really become convinced that this is what is described in our Shastra, that this is what is stressed by our acharyas. And preaching means not simply telling people to chant the holy name. That is, of course, the most important. But if one is properly chanting the holy name, that means that one's consciousness will become purified. And when one's consciousness becomes purified, one will understand what is pleasing to Krishna, what is pleasing to Guru. You see. So this kind of question comes up very often. Devotees are simply not sufficiently serious about taking up the instructions that have been neglected for so many years. No varnashram colleges in our city temples. Nobody speaks about varnashrama. People sometimes will complain about, yes, why that concern about milk? That concern is there about milk because we have deviated as a society, as a general society. Modern day society has deviated in a major way. And the more we go along with that deviation, we are also deviating, isn't it? So therefore we should take this point very seriously. We should connect with those who are developing a project, or we should simply take up this as a priority, especially in the context of what is happening now around the world. This should be a wake-up call for all of us. We have allowed ourselves to become so dependent on a system which is very, very, very fragile, because it is unnatural, because it is artificial, because it is unsustainable. Srila Prabhupada has warned us again and again and again, but we are so stubborn, we are so slow in Kali Yuga. So therefore, one should take necessary steps to make this happen by having every single center, every single city temple should have its own Goshala, not in the city, in the country, close by, with some land and some dedicated devotees, not hired people. We don't hire people to look after our kids. At least we shouldn't. But in modern day society we do. We don't hire people to look after our deities. We shouldn't hire people to cook for us. This should be done, all these activities are meant to be done with love and devotion. If one is not a devotee, how he can perform those activities with love and devotion? So we have to wake up before it is too late. So especially in cities, getting a hemp and milk is not easy. Yes. Part of the problem is that most people who are in the cities are not supposed to be in the cities. And most of our devotees who are in the cities are not supposed to be in the cities. We have to think about this. We will go to another question, which is also from SSKBK. We have many questions coming from our own devotees here. This is from Purushottam Prakash Prabhu here. So here we go. As most of the general population living in these modern cities, can we apply Varnashram principles? As per my understanding, Varnashram is for rural areas. That means do we need to close all the cities? Not all of them, but probably most of them. Are these city people, all of these city people should come and live in a village? Or there could be cities like Dwarka, Mathura and Hastinapur. Can you please throw some light on this, and what should be the occupation of the people living in those kind of cities? Okay, good point. We don't say, and our Shastra also does not say, no cities. As you rightly point out, Krishna was in Dwarka, the Pandavas were in Hastinapur. But there were few major cities. The vast majority of people were living in the country. You go to a place like Cambodia, even today, there is Phnom Penh, which is the capital. There is Siem Reap, which used to be a village, but because Angkor Wat is close by, it has become like practically a small city, or at least a town. There are very few cities because the culture, the traditional culture is very much based on land and cows. So this is what we were trying to explain a little earlier, how since the days of the Industrial Revolution, some 200 plus years ago, we have been on this false tangent, misleading direction, whereby we simply want to accumulate more and more, falsely thinking we can be happy by this so-called material advancement. We have forgotten the real goal and objective of life, which is self-realization. And to attain self-realization, we must learn to minimize our material necessities of life. When we forget the primary goal of life, self-realization, developing God consciousness, then naturally we fall on the bodily platform of life, and we falsely assume or conclude that we can be happy by having a nice house, by having all kinds of material facilities, which is not the case. And urbanization, people living in the cities, is a symptom of this disease. This is the symptom of modern day disease, cities. Prabhupada in a conversation made this very emphatic statement. We don't want cities. We don't want these kind of so-called modern cities. So therefore, we should know this is part of the tremendous challenge. That is, very much part of this Krishna consciousness movement. Again, I quote from Srila Prabhupada, one of the purposes of the Krishna consciousness movement is to bring about a complete overhaul in society. Overhaul means a complete change. And to revert, to use Srila Prabhupada's own words, to revert, to come back, to come back to the natural system of the 4 varnas and 4 ashramas. You can Google, not Google, but you can look in the database on the folio. That is there in Srila Prabhupada's books, one of the purports. So until and unless we understand this and accept it, then we will not even begin to take steps towards fulfilling that desire and that mission, which is part of Krishna's mission. Dharma samstapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya saduskritam. This is the purpose, one of the purposes why Krishna descends in this material world. Dharma samstapanarthaya. Dharma, to reestablish Dharma. What is Dharma? Dharma means our goal is to go back to Krishna. Our goal is not to become more and more entangled in this material world, which is what modern society is convincing or has convinced the majority of people to do. So therefore the absolute necessity of village organization. Varnashrama is not, okay, to answer this other aspect of your question here. So Varnashrama is therefore not only for people in village. The Varnashrama principles will also be there for people in the cities. There will be people who will be administrators, there will be intellectuals, there will be people who are merchants, and there will be helpers. The 4 natural divisions will be there. But cities have a particular purpose, to help overall manage. We could say olden days, the kings would have their fort, and the fort would be like a city. That is, from the fort, that is where, from that place, the king would manage actually his whole kingdom. There are 7, according to Chanakya Pandit. This we find in the Kautilya Arthashastra. There are 7 constituents, 7 aspects called constituents that make up for an ideal nation or an ideal country. These 7 constituents are not only for a nation or a country, they can be applied actually in any context. They can be applied in a temple situation. They can be applied in an organization. They can be applied in a village. What are those 7 constituents? These are unchanging constituents. This is something most important for us to understand. Our Vedic literatures teach us unchanging principles and concepts that once we understand nicely, anywhere we go, whatever we do, by applying these principles, success will be there. You see. Very, very different than modern day society where we're constantly adjusting and creating and inventing because everything is on the mental platform. Shastra is giving us perfect knowledge. Why? Because it's given by the perfect person, Krishna, or those who are self-realized souls, who are following in Guru Parampara. The 7 constituents for a nation are described. Number 1, qualified king. Naturally. qualified king to govern. Secondly, qualified minister, a right-hand person, or a manager, right-hand manager. King, then minister. Number 3, naturally, a kingdom, territory. Number 4, a fort. A fort which is strategically located. There are directives rather. Directives are given as to where there should be a fort. All these things are explained in our Shastra. We're not reading our Shastra, therefore we don't know about these things. King, minister, kingdom, number 3. 4, a fort. Number 5, treasury. Obviously, you need treasury. Kings were the ones who, through different means, through taxation, and because they were resourceful, they would get what was necessary to maintain and to run a kingdom. And then number 6, you need an army, or you need people to execute so many things. An army, of course, in the context of a nation, to protect the nation. And the 7th principle, also very important, you need allies. So like this, within, let's say, a fort, which is, we can compare to modern day cities, the fort of Dwarka, which is the city of Dwarka. So there were, cities are meant to be especially for administration. And those who will be helpful or helping in different ways, they will also be in the cities. And there will be all kinds of activities. But, and in times of dangers, people will take shelter, general population. But because the vast majority of people, and this was clearly understood by the king, Vedic kings, vast majority of people will be engaged in agriculture. Why? Because the ideal activity for sustainable economic development is agriculture. Krishi gorakshabanijam vaisha karma svabhavajam. You see, this is a real definition of economics, and therefore real economics is cow-based economics. Cow-based economics. All these things are there in the Shastra, and all these things are meant to be taught by our brahmanas. They're not. I'm sorry to say, these are not properly taught. Brahmana is meant to know these different sciences, and he is meant to teach them in the various formal educational systems that we have within our society. These basic principles are meant to be taught. How they can be taught if they're not studied, you see. So therefore, Varnasrama principles are there everywhere. Wherever there's a group of people, whether they are in a village or whether they are in a city, there will be these natural divisions. Very easy to understand, actually. There will be those who are natural leaders. So in a village you'll have the different temple activities that will be looked after by the brahmanas. Then you will have the panchayat, the local leaders. They are the kshatriyas. Then you will have those who are actually especially involved with producing food, who know actually how to properly utilize the land and the cows. Those are the Vaishyas. And the vast majority of people who are not natural leaders, who don't have these natural propensities, they will assist, they will help. That's in the village, that's also in the city. In the fort, the king will be there, he'll have his palace, He'll have his ministers. He'll have his army. There will be people who will be doing trade. And even in the city, the vast majority of people will be helpers, will be helping in different ways. These, again, are basic principles that are the foundation of an ideal society. That ideal society is Vedic society. So therefore, our business as devotees should be to create these ideal societies. And it is easier for us to actually begin by creating ideal villages. Prabhupada was mentioning in a recent conversation we were reading, start on a small scale. We cannot start from the top. Start on a small scale. Not everyone will take to this way of life. Not everyone will become Krishna conscious, Prabhupada mentioned. Even if only 5% become Krishna conscious, that will be sufficient to provide such a positive influence and create such an auspicious situation in the world that everyone will actually benefit from that. So Varnashrama principles are everywhere, in the village, in the city. And activities, of course, in the city, very close to the city, there will be villages. They will be providing, just like in Jagannath Puri. Jagannath Puri is a town. So many people from surrounding villages, so many farmers are involved in producing clay pots, because every day they have to cook and bring out all of these preparations in the Ananda Bazaar. So many things that different communities are preparing. So that was a whole modus of operation in the Vedic culture. All these villages, they would be connected with temples, either in their local village or to a bigger temple, just like in Angkor Wat in Cambodia. And everyone in this way was actually, this was one of the main duties and responsibilities of the king, how to connect people to Krishna by engaging them in so many different activities. So at least let us begin on a small scale. Small scale means getting some land, growing our food, keeping some cows, and that is possible in the countryside. Okay, so many challenges are there. Still, if we understand how vital and essential this is, we will take the necessary steps to do that, while simultaneously continuing to carry out the various activities that are there in the cities, different activities such as book distribution and prasadam distribution, harinam, etc. But we should also know, and we'll close on this point here, that developing such communities, reviving, rebuilding these kind of natural environments, which are meant to be the natural original villages, an essential our preaching mission. That is also preaching. Growing food is preaching. So we'd like to thank you for attending our session today. Please continue to send some questions. We received a series of questions from Detroit today, Bhakti-Avatar Prabhu. We've added those to our list of questions. And everyone, please continue to stay safe, both physically, in terms of taking necessary precautions, and also stay safe spiritually by continuing to practice nicely our Krishna consciousness, and in this way a devotee can live out this life without becoming overburdened by whatever situation may come, and always have in the forefront how to progress and advance in Krishna consciousness, and how to give that opportunity to as many people as possible. So once again, please do visit our website, varnashramcollege.com, and once again, thank you all very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai Samasta Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna.